Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 265 is here. Nobara is confirmed to be dead. Yuji and Sukuna spend a day in Yuji's hometown, but in the end, we figure out that Yuji has the upper hand now and can take Sukuna out at any time. Sit back, relax, and let's go through it all. The chapter's title is That Day, and it starts with Yuji and Sukuna coming out of a train station in the city where Yuji grew up. And apparently, this is Yuji's domain. One thing worth noting here is this is Kitakami City, the hometown of Gege Akutami, the author of the series. And I really like the fact that throughout this chapter, Gege is taking us back to where he grew up. Now back to the chapter, Sukuna says, I've experienced this before, the rare phenomenon of connecting with a sorcerer during the height of battle. I thought it was a side effect of some sort due to cursed energy being born from humans, yet this is something different. What is this? Is this your domain? And Yuji responds by saying, shut it. I did this a little frantically. I don't really get it either. I wanted some time to talk to you. Just indulge me for a second. And in my opinion, what Sukuna just said changes a lot of things. We always assumed that Yuji had a special ability, one that even he can't control. At the start of the series and during the fight against Todo, we saw that Todo was seeing memories that didn't exist of him and Yuji. And at the time, I thought that Todo was just imagining these scenarios of him becoming best friends with Yuji. But this wasn't the case, because this phenomenon would occur again during Yuji's fight against Chozo. Just as Chozo is about to deliver the final blow to Yuji, he starts seeing memories and flashbacks that didn't really happen. Chozo was getting memories of Yuji as his little brother, and he was spending time with his other brothers. And it looked like Yuji was unconsciously doing this, and most of us speculated that Yuji has some sort of memory manipulation ability, but what Sukuna just said clears things even further. According to Sukuna, these visions are the result of a rare phenomenon of connecting with a sorcerer during the height of battle, and this is a side effect of some sort due to cursed energy being born from humans. Now, this explains the visions we saw at the end of Yuji and Mahito's fight, and we also saw similar visions at the end of Sukuna and Kashimo's fight. So, essentially, Sukuna just explained how we're able to see all those visions throughout the series. However, what Yuji just did takes this to a new level. And to be honest, even at the end of this chapter, we don't get an explanation for Yuji's domain or this weird ability. I think that Yuji can reach a person's soul somehow. Gege hinted at this from the start of the series. On top of that, switch training and reading Yuki's book about soul composition helped him create this domain. But is this another cursed technique? I'm hoping it's not, because, in my opinion, Yuji has too many techniques by now, especially since most of them have been revealed during this arc. Anyways, as Yuji and Sukuna exit the train station, they pass by a statue. Yuji mentions that this is the Demon Sword dance statue, and Sukuna doesn't know it. Yuji replies that only the locals would know about it, and after doing some research I found out that this is Onokanbai, which would be translated to Devil's Sword Dance. This dance has been performed in the city of Kitakami in northeastern Japan for around 1,000 years. This dance takes inspiration from Buddhism, and it started as a way of offering comfort to ancestral spirits. Next, we learn that Yuji was raised here until he was 6 or 7, then moved to Sendai for his grandfather's work. Yuji came back to this city after 10 years for the funeral of one of his grandfather's friends, and Yuji was surprised to see how empty the place felt. After that, Yuji proceeds to take Sukuna on a tour around the city. They visit the park Yuji used to play in. They talk about flowers, and Sukuna corrects Yuji on the name of a certain flower. Yuji then challenges Sukuna to catch a crayfish, which leads us to one of the funniest interactions between them. Sukuna is feeling good because he caught a bigger crayfish than Yuji, but Yuji explains that Sukuna got an American crayfish while Yuji has a Japanese one, which is rarer. They then continue their tour and visit different places throughout the city, and they even go to the outskirts of the city. Yuji is continuously yapping all this time, and Sukuna is surprisingly waiting to see where Yuji is taking this. Yuji even invites Sukuna to do some archery, but Sukuna completely destroys him because Sukuna is from the era of actual archery. After that, Yuji continues to talk about how he used to spend his winter, but Sukuna has enough and tells Yuji to get to the point and say what he really wants to say. And this is the important part of the chapter. Yuji says, "You know, up until recently, I thought I should simply live to fulfill my role as I understand it. I thought if I died like that, I could at least consider it a proper death. But now, I feel like that's not entirely right. Walking the dog, raising a family, any sort of role like that is just fine. Even if you don't have anything like that, as long as you eat and sleep. Even if you're stuck in bed sick. Even if you spent your life with no connections and nothing remains of you. More than memories made one's image. It's within the little tiny fragments that remain drifting off where the value of a life lies. It never had anything to do with the ways people die. I just couldn't ever forgive those who acted as if that value didn't exist. Sukuna, I loathe you. Humans aren't tools. We aren't born with any set role. Which is to say, I don't know whether humans are fundamentally good or evil. I could very well be doing the wrong thing here. So, I thought I should at least let you see the humanity of someone other than yourself. Of someone you see no value in." Sukuna then replies by saying, "I don't feel a thing. I understand everything you're saying, brat. And yet it stirs no emotion within me. Just as you felt when you saw how quiet this town became. You'd expected it. I feel absolutely nothing." Meanwhile, Yuji seems disappointed and lost in his thoughts, but Sukuna adds, "Suffice to say, I'm dumbfounded by your cowardice. Your rage toward me, your hatred. Is this all it amounted to? Wait, you couldn't possibly be. Are you pitying me? Is this your way of showing compassion?" This is where Yuji's demeanor changes and he says, "Exactly. Sukuna, I can kill you. Release Fushiguro. Return to my body and I'll spare your life." On the other hand, Sukuna is really furious after hearing what Yuji just says, and he replies, "Such a gravely severe misconception. I won't stop at simply mincing you to bits, brat. Right in front of your eyes, I'll slaughter every human being you claim to be so valuable." The chapter ends here, and I can't wait to see what comes next. I really want to understand how exactly Yuji's domain works, and how can he kill Sukuna at any time. Another thing worth mentioning is that Nobara is confirmed to be dead. Gege was asked about her in a previous interview, and he confirmed that she is dead. Plus, during Yuji's speech to Sukuna, we get a flashback to multiple deceased characters of the series, and Nobara was one of them. So, this further confirms the fact that we won't be seeing Nobara come back. I would also like to add that what Yuji did during this chapter wasn't just for Sukuna, most of it was for Megumi. As we all know, Megumi doesn't have any desire to live anymore, and he doesn't even want to fight Sukuna. And what Yuji did is to tell him, this isn't the end. He was trying to change Megumi's perspective on life. Even if you don't have a goal, or if you failed in your mission, life still has a lot to offer. So this may change Megumi's mind, and he starts fighting Sukuna from the inside. And one other possibility is that Yuji wants Sukuna to release Megumi and come back to his body, and he then can take himself out and save Megumi. We all know that this was the plan from the start. Gather Sukuna's fingers, then kill Yuji to get rid of Sukuna forever. But there's one last problem about this. What exactly would killing Sukuna look like? At the start of the series, we saw Sukuna rip Yuji's heart from his chest, but Yuji didn't die. It's revealed that Sukuna changed the position of Yuji's soul before he ripped the heart out. But if Sukuna can pull this off, how can you exactly kill him?